Commissioner Baker McCormick has also requested to be excused. Commissioner Marecki? Commissioner Kinlock?
Present.
Commissioner Anderson?
Present.
Vice Chair Baidoon?
Here.
Chair Varga has also requested an excuse. We have a quorum present.
Thank you. Next item.
Item B, Chairman's remarks.
Don't have any remarks. Next item.
Item C, approval of the minutes of the March 22nd, 2020 meeting.
Move approval.
Support. We have approval and support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item.
Item D, unfinished business. There is none. We're moving to item E1 of new business. Requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35073, certifying revenue in the general fund.
Thank you. We have someone from the Department of Homeland Security to speak on this item.
Brian Herman, Wayne County Homeland Security. This budget adjustment recognizes the revenue for the 2020 UASC federal grant. We are in the process of spending the 2019 funds now. There's a distinct possibility we'll use these funds this year. So this is basically just recognizing the revenue. Thank you.
Questions from my colleagues?
Mr. Chair, I wanted to ask if the gentleman would introduce himself because I know I haven't met him before and I think you're the new director.
Oh, no, Summer Director is the interim.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I do know that guy.
Brian is one of our finance people who's training our finance persons. He does a lot of work with the UASC grant, the Urban Area Security Initiative. So go ahead, Brian, finish. Introduce
Sorry about
yourself.
that. Actually, I've been to 100 of these things. So some of you people recommend it. Yeah, I've been with Homeland for about 10 years, but I'm kind of changing capacity. So I'm still involved with finance. But yeah, again, Brian Herman, Wayne County Homeland Security.
When Tad left, I think just found out, well, we found out maybe a month ago or something like that. All right. For myself anyway. And I'm glad to see we got a couple of good people there too. Thank
In
you.
good hands. Ted is our neighbor at the airport. He's the vice president.
Yes.
Of first responders, police and fire. So we communicate quite often. We share a lot of successes together, but you're in good hands. Thank you, Commissioner.
If you could, if you have his contact information still, I would like to stay in communication. I knew the colonel when he was head of the state police in Lansing, but he is there. Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? We have a motion.
I move approval.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Can you do the roll call, please?
Commissioner Marecki?
Yes.
Commissioner Kinlock?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Baidoon?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item.
Moving to item 2, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35-137, certifying revenue in the ARPA fund.
Anyone from the administration to speak on this item?
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Well, maybe on Zoom. Do you have anybody on Zoom, Octavia?
Thank you. If someone could provide us a list, and I would, if other commissioners would like that also, I'd like to see where those funds went as far as the communities across the county.
Okay.
Word on it.
Make a note of that.
Thank you.
What's the discretion of the committee?
There's a lot of COVID stuff on here today. I can't believe someone's not here.
Okay. We'll come back to this item. Let's move to the next item. We'll come back to item number 2. How's that? Maybe we'll have somebody from the administration on Zoom, or hopefully they'll show up here. Next item.
Let me ask, Mr. Chair, I believe at the committee of whole, there's supposed to be some sort of presentation as it relates to ARPA dollars. Do you think that they were planning to actually give that presentation at that time because I noticed that we got a report from Pam.
I think this looks like it's for actual COVID relief and economic stimulus. So maybe that will be part of the ARPA presentation today.
Okay. Well,
In rental assistance to eligible households. So
let's move on to the next item because we have a meeting at 11. So let's go through these items. Let's move on to item number 3. We'll come back to item 2. Hopefully someone from the administration can come back and elaborate on item number 2. Item number 3.
Item 3, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35-138, certifying revenue in the general fund.
Move approval.
Support.
We have an approval and support. Can you do the roll call?
Commissioner Marecki, Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydoun,
Yes.
motion carries.
Next item.
Moving to item number 4, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35-139, certifying revenue in the general fund.
Move approval.
We have support. We have approval and support. The roll call, please.
Commissioner Marecki,
yes,
Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydoun,
Yes.
motion carries.
Next item.
Moving to item number 5, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35-023, certifying revenue in the COVID-19 fund.
Move approval, Mr. Chair.
We have approval by Commissioner Kinlock. Do we have support?
this is another one I think that
I'm here for the COVID grants.
oh, great.
Miles Caparu, Management and Budget Finance Director for the Department of Health, Human and Veteran Services. Actually, you got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, but I can take them one by one. Also, the director is on Zoom, Dr. Chef for Public Health. But in essence, all those from 5 all the way to number 9, those are COVID grants we received from the state of Michigan. And basically, we just reconciled them to, well, not reconcile them, revise the budget to actually meet our needs. So that's what these certifications are for.
So items 5 through 9. Okay. All right. We'll take them all together. Would you like to modify the motion?
Yes, I modify my motion to approve items 5 through 9.
Second for support.
We have a motion and support. Any further discussion on items 5 through 9? Commissioner Marecki.
Thank you. So these are funds and uses that we talked about in the past, in past committees, I think maybe in HHS.
Yes,
So this is just the budget adjustment.
correct.
Okay, so all these monies have to be spent by December? Are these the ones?
September,
Oh, September.
correct. And-
Okay.
And if I can go further, that's the issue. So if we look at our next item, and sorry for jumping ahead, you see the FEMA grant, right? We're certifying 25 million. The issue we had, we received money from FEMA, right? But also the state gave us money for COVID also. So trying to juggle all of that funding, we had to do our best. So we end up looking at the state monies, trying to spend that first, in essence.
So we're getting so much money and we're seeing the down end of the COVID at this
Right.
point. So is there any talk about letting us be a little more creative in some of this funding? And I get it. Of course, you want to spend whatever you get. I get that. But it's like, these are massive amounts of money that, I don't know. Is there any talk or is it just purely on the COVID stuff now?
Well, it's been talked, but really the bottom line, and you just alluded to it, the money we got from the federal government, in addition to money we got from the state, was paying for the same items,
Right.
correct? So we had to choose which one.
Okay,
So,
so you,
but
okay.
the bottom line, we're sending most of the money. We're sending a good portion of the funding back because we just couldn't spend it.
So they won't let you, like, we can flip it over to the bridge fund or the road fund?
Right, I mean, but the other part you said, the pandemic is winding down also, right?
Especially if there's a time limit. It'd be different if this was like over a 5-year period and whatever, but it's winding down. So, okay, so a lot of it you just had to,
It's going to end up going back.
it's going to go back. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. So we have a motion and support. Octavia, can you call the vote, please?
Commissioner Marecki,
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydoun,
Yes.
motion carries.
Next item, please.
Moving to item 10 on the agenda, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35-113, certifying revenue in the COVID-19 fund.
Peru again. This is the FEMA funding. You remember last year, the county received, well, was awarded 72 million, but received 36 million in advance for FEMA. Last year, meaning the year we just ended, fiscal year 21, we ended up spending about 10.4 million. So if you just subtract the 10.4 from the 36 we initially received, we're certifying for this year, that's 25 million. So we're bringing the 25 million over to this current year, right? And also what ended up happening is the FEMA grant was up to March 31st. So they was going to extend it, but we talked to department leadership and particularly Director Jordan. And the question was, did we want to extend the FEMA funding? Because they would allow us to extend it further, or did we just want to wind it down? Because of the other reasons I spoke on before. We got other money from the state. And then FEMA, as you know, or federal funding is a much more restrictive. So long story short, out of the 25 million from October to March, I think we spent about maybe close to 5 million. So most likely we're going to send back about maybe 19 to 20 million to FEMA. So right now we're in the process of closing the FEMA grant out. So what this 25.5 million is just bringing it in for this year, which is the balance from last year.
Ask you a question.
Sure.
You said that you're going to send back approximately how much? About 19 million?
About 19 million after we finish reconciling, making sure we cover all the bills and COVID-related activities we can cover.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Kinlock?
Question is specifically, so I'll be clear on it, because it's always kind of interesting when monies are actually returned.
Mm-hmm.
What are the reasons why monies were returned, weren't spent, or areas weren't identified quickly enough, or the need was reassessed and wasn't there?
Combination of all that, but I will say the main thing is we received a bulk of money from the state of Michigan, and you had the federal government come in to fund us for the same activities. We don't have that capacity, right? To handle, well, when I say capacity, it's the capacity to get all the funds out, but was there also a lot of activity of COVID in Wayne County? So if you look at 36 million from the federal government, and if you just look at the first few budget adjustment we approved, that was almost 10 million from the state. So what we had plenty of discussions internally, it was best for us to put more focus on spending our state money, because question are, FEMA will be leaving soon, but we're here in Michigan, so let's focus on spending our state money.
What quickly, and because of this experience, someone, whether it's at the federal level, state level, need to find a way to quickly reprogram dollars in a way to make sure that those dollars are utilized, because there's other areas. And so they need to be able to, from this experience, this whole COVID experience, and dollars being returned, somebody should have been keeping track of what has transpired to make sure that that we have a system in place to reprogram, reprioritize monies quickly, because there's always a need, as everyone knows.
Right, and I agree, but I have colleagues throughout the nation. This was a problem
That's what I'm saying.
across the nation,
Yeah.
right? So
Someone should be
above
watching. Yep. Thank you.
Commissioner Marecki?
I'm all set. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. So do we have a motion for item number 10?
I'll move.
Support.
We have a motion and support. Can you call the vote, please, Octavia?
Commissioner Mareki,
Yes.
Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydoun,
Yes.
motion carries.
Um,
We're now going to move back to item number 2.
If someone is here to speak on item number 2. Read item number 2 again, Octavia.
Item number 2, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35-137, certifying revenue in the ARPA fund.
And item number 2 is to deploy ARPA funds for use within the fiscal year. You know, I confess, I do not understand the anatomy of how the $31 million work. I could try to find that out even right now in real time.
The chair would be appropriate to hold over for a day.
That's exactly what I was thinking. We'll just hold off on item number 2 then until we have the presentation at the committee as a whole. Yeah, we have to pass it for the
Yeah,
day.
pass
Do we
it
have
for
a
the day.
motion? We have a motion to pass it for the day?
Through the chair,
Yes.
to clarify, if you pass it for the day, that means it will not come back until the next Ways and Means meeting. I don't know if there's any urgency to this budget adjustment or not.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead, Commissioner Kinlock.
is there an action that we can take that send it to the full board? Because since we're getting the presentation at the committee of the whole, we send it to the full board with no recommendation and for them to dispose of it?
Yes, you can forward it to full board without recommendation. And if you get to full board and you determine that based on the presentation that is given, you're not satisfied, you can always send it back to this committee from full board.
Mr. Chair, I move to forward this to full board without recommendation.
Have a motion. Do we have support? Have support. Can you call the vote, Octavia?
Commissioner Mareki,
Yes.
Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydoun,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
Moving to item 11. Requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2020-35-126, certifying revenue in the COVID-19 fund.
Questions from the committee?
Chair, move approval.
Have a motion. Do we have support? We have motion and support. Can you call the vote, please?
Commissioner Mareki, Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydoun,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
Item 12, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35048, decertifying revenue in the county road fund.
Motion.
Move approval, Mr. Chair.
Have support. We have support. Can you call the vote, please?
Commissioner Mareki, Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson, Vice Chair Baydoun,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Next item.
Item 13, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35053, certifying revenue in the general fund.
Move approval.
Have
Support.
approval. Do we have support? We have support. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Mareki, Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydoun,
Yes.
motion carries. Item 14, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35065, certifying revenue and reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Move approval.
Support.
Have approval and we have support. Thank you. Octavia, please call the vote.
I have a question.
We have a question for Commissioner Mareki. Welcome, Sumaya.
Good morning, Sumaya Harp. Wonderful seeing you all in
Yeah,
person.
In person.
Yes.
So this is totally a grant for the funding for secondary road?
It's a state grant.
Okay.
At first, at the beginning of the year, back in August last year, we received $600,000. And then October, November, we received the balance of $900,000. So we're reallocating the money after the state had approved us what to spend the money on. So yes, it's all state grant.
How many sheriffs do we use for this?
8.
8?
Yeah.
So they're not in the jail then, they're doing the,
No, but they do, if they need to, they work overtime at the jails, but they cannot spend their hours at the jails. If they do, then we cannot bill the state because this is reimbursable. We don't get the funding ahead of time.
thanks.
Questions? If not, let's call the vote.
Commissioner Marecki? Commissioner Kinlock?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydun?
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving to item 15, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35093, certifying revenue and reallocating expenditures in the law enforcement fund.
Questions from the committee? We have approval and we have support. Let's call the vote.
Commissioner Marecki? Commissioner Kinlock?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Baydun?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 16, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35011, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Question of the committee? We have approval from Commissioner Marecki. Do we have support?
Support.
Have support from Commissioner Kinlock. Call the vote, please.
Commissioner Marecki? Commissioner Kinlock?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydun?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 17, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35061, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Move approval.
Support. Call the vote, please.
Commissioner Marecki? Commissioner Kinlock?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydun?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 18, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35143, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Approval and we have support.
Support.
We have support from Commissioner Kinlock. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Marecki? Commissioner Kinlock?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydun?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 19, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35136, reallocating expenditures in the county health fund.
Marecki?
Thank you. I don't know if, oh, I think Carolyn's on. I'm just wondering with these influenza vaccines, how long they last for? I mean, are we stocking up for the next couple of years or because it's already spring and just, oh, just wondering, not sure who to ask.
Mild Care Finance Director for the department. I'm not sure, but Dr. Chef, she should be, she said she's on the Zoom.
Yeah, thank you, Kamal. I can speak to that. So we have to, most influenza vaccine ordering works like this, that you have to put your order in now for the fall that is coming. And so we are hoping to get our supply and get it be, one of the earlier resources to distribute influenza vaccines when they come out around the early fall time. So we have to actually put in our order now for the next fall influenza season.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Anderson made the motion. Commissioner Anderson made the motion.
Okay.
With support.
Anderson, supported by Commissioner Marecki. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Marecki?
Yes.
Commissioner Kinlock?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydun?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item.
Item 20, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35054, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Move approval.
Approval from Commissioner Marecki. Do we have support?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Kinlock. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Marecki? Commissioner Kinlock?
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydun?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 21, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35127, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Move approval.
We have approval. We have support. We have support by Commissioner Marecki. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Marecki,
Yes.
Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson, Vice Chair Baydun.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving to
Item.
item number 22, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35-140, reallocating expenditures in the county health fund.
Approval.
Have approval and support. Any discussion? No discussion, please call the vote.
Commissioner Marecki,
Yes.
Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydun.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving to item 23, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35-116, reallocating expenditures in the juvenile justice abuse neglect fund.
Questions on this item? No questions? We have a motion.
Move this for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Marecki. Do we have support? Support by Commissioner Anderson, was it? Thank you. Can you call the vote, please?
Commissioner Marecki, Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydun.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item
Item.
24, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35-159, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Any questions on this item? Motion.
I'll move approval.
Support.
Have approval and support. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Marecki,
Yes.
Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson, Vice Chair Baydun.
Yes.
Motion carries. We'll move to the addenda.
Okay, next item on the addenda.
Item 25, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35-169, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
So Commissioner Anderson had a question on this item.
I had a question, and I don't know if Drew or somebody from the administration might be able to answer it. Had to do with the liability payments. Didn't see in the memos or the information that we had what that was for exactly.
Of the opportunity to investigate this today. Send you an email.
Here, I can't hear. I can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would need to investigate this for the specific liability payments. I am aware that, of course, the county carries, liability insurance as a function of payroll, and I would imagine that that's what this is, but I would need to look at it specifically. I'm sorry that I'm 0 for 2 on these. I focus more on the math footing at the bottom than the departmental purpose sometimes. But I'm going to make a serious effort to be more informed about the ultimate uses of these dollars. I would recommend approval because liability payments are important to the county. Itemize them before this goes to full board.
Here, if we can get that information before full board, I'd move maybe forwarding to the full commission without recommendation. Yeah. Pardon me?
With a condition?
Without recommendation.
Well, either without recommendation or whichever would be proper. I guess we could do it with the requirement to have that information before the full board.
That would be absolutely fine. I'm motivated to get you the information that you need to act as a legislative body. So I'm going to do that with haste, and I appreciate the advancement of full board.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Kinlock, I think you have a question.
No, that's fine. So you will supply the entire commission with it. Thank you. Okay.
My deputy Vanita Terry may be on Zoom, and she usually knows more than I do. But if she is available, and if she has a thought, I would want her to have the opportunity.
Okay, is she with us on the Zoom?
Good morning, Vanita Terry, Deputy Budget Director.
Go ahead. Can you please restate your name again?
Vanita Terry, sorry, I'm not feeling well today. Vanita Terry.
Okay, go ahead.
This particular budget adjustment that is reallocating expenditures for liability is to cover pending lawsuits with Wayne County, and just to make sure that the appropriation line is funded properly to pay. And I can't speak on detail in regard to any pending lawsuits, but Drew may be able to give more information in regard to that. But that's what this is for, is to fund the appropriation line properly for that.
Anita, we're a good team. Thank you for refreshing my memory.
No problem.
This is to fund the Watkins settlement.
Thank you.
I want to make sure that Commissioner Anderson has a moment to hear me.
Anderson? Go ahead, please.
I knew all along, and I just needed Vanita to tell me what I knew. This is to provide appropriation and funding for the Watkins settlement, which the county commission has already approved. If memory serves, it's a $1 million settlement. However, as a function of available appropriate
Vote.
Commissioner Mareki, Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydun.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving to item 26, requesting commission approval of the 2022 Wayne County Equalization Report as required by sections 34 and 37 of the General Property Tax Act.
Thank you. Mr. Scott Vandermeerkel.
Morning.
Morning.
Scott Vandenbergel, Director of Assessment and Equalization. I'm pleased to present to you this morning the 2022 Equalization Report, which is a summation of all the proposed county equalized valuations and assessed valuations for the various communities in the various property classes within Wayne County. Very simply put, it was a stellar year for the real estate market that supports our tax base in Wayne County. We probably won't see another one like it, or actually maybe we will this year. On all counts, everything was up in stellar fashion. We realized the greatest increase in assessed value in Wayne County in the entire 7-county area. It was about 8.5%. On the taxable value side, that increased about 6%. The rate of inflation that was used, inflation has been climbing, so it's looking backward at that point, but it was 3.3%. So our tax base went up 6%, even though the inflationary rate this time doubled the expectation, and that was a result of primarily new development activity.
But I have a quick question. Have we reached the same level that we were at in 2007 yet in terms of taxable value?
Actually, just this year, it took us 15 years to get there. So it was a long and cumbersome road sometimes, but I've been keeping track since the recession of where the county values have been recovering since 2007, which is the peak valuation year for overall for Wayne County. And just this year, we arrived at 99.59%. So call it 100%. So we're materially at the level that we were 15 years ago when we were beginning to enter the recession. So we're where we were in terms of our valuation 15 years ago. However, our tax base, which is our taxable value, is at about 91%. So our tax base that we're obviously which our revenue is based is not quite there yet. It's about 9% away from that. 91 cents. I mean, we're all becoming very well acquainted once again with inflation, but even so, 91 cents of $2007, if we think of it that way,
with 15 years of cumulative of inflation plus whatever things are doing right now, there's a huge erosion of purchasing power from that tax base that we had. So even if we got to 100% this year, I mean, that would be great, but we still have all those years of theoretically inflation that would have been inflating on otherwise on 2007 numbers. So there's always that loss of purchasing power. But not to detract from the good news. I mean, we're materially recovered.
Have any questions from my colleagues?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
now we can.
Just to add on to what Scott was saying, the increase in the 6% increase in the taxable value, which was about 2.8 million over last year, equates to about 21.6 million in additional property tax dollars.
1 million. Scott, would you expect, based on this unbelievable real estate market, that we might see a similar increase next year in terms of taxable value increase?
Everything seems to be pointing to it. The inflationary rate just seems to be climbing and climbing, and it's been doing so for a protracted amount of time. So the inflationary rate that the state calculates, or the IRM, inflation rate multiplier, is calculated over a 2-year period. So there will be more, it's on a monthly basis. So there will be more months during these very high inflationary times. So I would assume that yes, that we will see the tax base increase similarly, and in terms of both the taxable value and the assessed value. The city of Detroit in particular had an exemplary year with a 20% increase in their assessments and a 10% increase in their tax base. But even if you sort of set that aside, even the rest of everywhere in the rest of the county was up incredibly so. But to answer your question, yes, I would assume that we should probably see something very similar unless some unforeseen circumstance happens.
Not mistaken, the city of Dearborn saw an increase in taxable value of about 2.9%, if I'm correct. Is there another community in Wayne County that stands out in terms of the highest increase in taxable value and assessed value?
From year to year, or
from year to year?
I can take a quick look at
Bet you it's Northville or Plymouth probably.
at the table. Yeah, I can take a quick look at the table. I don't mean to take away with dead air. I can get to it really quickly though. Like Huron Township, he had about 15%, and Hamtramck had about 12%. That was in their taxable value, so their tax base. And what I would assume was going on in Huron was probably a lot of development activity. And what I would assume was going on in Hamtramck was a lot of uncapping of the taxable value through a lot of sales activity. So a little bit different situation going on in both communities, but both very much signs of vitality and health.
Okay, very interesting numbers. Commissioner Kinlock.
Mr. Chair, is a motion in order?
Yes, the motion is in order.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the 2022 Wayne County Equalization Report.
We have a motion. Do we have support? Support by Commissioner Marecki. Please call the vote.
Commissioner Marecki, Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydoun.
Yes.
Motion carries. We will now return to the agenda. Item F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
Before we do that, I want to welcome my colleague, Commissioner El Haydous. I know he attends a lot of these meetings. He's not on this committee, but do you have any questions, any concern, Commissioner Haydous?
Chair, my understanding is the increase of the property tax value based on the sales. And you relate it to the inflation. At how high they could go, 5%.
Right, the way that the
Up A.
The cap on the taxable values or essentially the cap on revenue growth, the way that works would be, as you said, a 5% normal cap on that. So the normal mechanism is that there is an inflation rate multiplier. This year was 3.3%.
This year.
And the cap would be 5%, so it cannot exceed 5%. So you'll see that the taxable value increase, I think, was 6.11%. So the way that can exceed the 5% cap is if there's new development that is exempt from that formula. So new development can push things past the normal superinflationary growth of the tax base. And the way that the tax base would increase over the rate of inflation normally is from when properties sell, the taxable value goes to the same level as the assessment. Sort of a long convoluted explanation, but it relates to property selling and uncapping the taxable value, is what we would describe it as. But I would assume that we would probably receive something of a slight millage reduction fraction this year to slightly roll back our millage rates, but we would also realize a pretty substantial windfall in terms of that taxable value increase that we have. Where we would actually see the benefit of that new development, the new construction that's been occurring throughout the county in positive economic times.
That point, Scott, I believe the inflation multiplier this year was probably one of the highest I have seen, 3.3 versus 1.9 the year prior, I believe.
Absolutely, that's correct. There's a table in the equalization report of the 25 or some odd years of proposal A period. And I think the highest other one was 3.7%. And I think that was in 2007 at that peak year. So I believe it's the second highest one ever in that 25-ish year period of that format for taxable value.
Thank you, Scott.
Welcome. And I should mention one other thing, if I may, because it's noteworthy and it's slightly unusual, but it's part of the job, if you will, of the commission. There was one proposed county equalization factor that we have baked into the report. And that county equalization factor is what the county commission would, this is our recommendation to what we would ask that the board would do. It's to add or subtract value from the overall assessments within a community, within a class in a community. And for the Huron Township agricultural class, we're proposing, it's about a 1.02 factor. So it's about 2%. So the assessor brought the values in a little bit too low, and we would ask that level of assessment would be brought up about 2%. It's only about 90 parcels of essentially farms. But I should mention that just because it's somewhat of an unusual occurrence. It happens maybe every 3 or 4 or 5 years. So so that you know that that's in there.
Was that the only community in Wayne County that this applies to?
Correct. Yes,
Yeah.
that just
Okay.
the only one county, or one class in the only unit in the county. So to give you an idea of the scale of things, there's about 800,000 parcels in the county, and that's about a 90 parcel class. So it's a couple of sprinkles of a grain of a couple of sprinkles of sand.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Nmg Public Comments.
We have anyone in the audience that would like to address the committee? One in the audience, is anyone on Zoom would like to address the committee? Have a Bobby Johnson, Mr. Johnson.
Bobby Johnson, you may now speak.
Hi, yes. Good afternoon,
Johnson, I'm
commissioners.
Good morning.
Well, good morning. I would like to say over here in our district, while we're reallocating funds and stuff, we need to look at the recreation that our seniors and our youth do not have over in District 7 in Alicia Bell's district. So while we're letting funds go back, almost 19 million of ARPA dollars or Covet funds, we need to think about what the residents need over here. We need some allocations on cleaning up on the side of Southfield Freeway that that area where it's just really trashy going into the overpass. We need some funding over here for our roads too. We're getting potholes. We have a lot of things. So when you're looking at reallocating money, please look over here to reallocate some money in this area in the city of Detroit. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Do we have anyone else on Zoom?
Don't see any other hands, Chair.
Have any emails?
No emails were received.
Next item,
Item H, adjournment.
have a motion to adjourn. We have support. Meeting is adjourned.